what's up? I'm just editing the podcast right now, but I just realized that the audio buffered in horribly for the first like 2 seconds. It's like total ear rape. So just turn the volume down right now and turn it right back up. You'll be fine, but enjoy the episode. Peace.
All right, welcome back to the No Hard Feelings podcast. Today we have the creator and co-star of This Is Mike Stud, professional videographer, co-host of the You Never Know, You Know What I Mean podcast with Mike Stud, and One Tree Hill enthusiast, Jon Kilmer. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Hell of an intro. You crushed it.
Hey, thank you. How's it going? How's life in general?
It's good, man. We got after it last night at the ranch, so I'm kind of dragging ass today. So I'm gonna.
Hey, well, I appreciate you pushing through.
if I'm a little slow today, that's why.
Hey, no worries at all. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on though, pushing through the hangover and taking the time to have a chat.
Hell yeah, dude.
So I guess I can get right into it. So you went to college at Hofstra, I saw, right?
Yeah, New York. Yep.
New York. So where exactly is that, New York?
It's in Long Island.
Oh, okay. Is it a pretty small school, small private school, or is it a?
Yeah, it's only like 8,000 undergrads, and it's like
okay.
40 minutes from New York City, so it's pretty close to the city.
That's probably a cool environment to go to college, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I never went to the city while I was there. We were kind of like in our own little bubble over there, but
Yeah.
I'm from Boston. It was just nice to be like that, 4 or 5 hours from home. It was already sick
Oh,
enough.
Yeah, for sure. I live at school, but I only go to school like 30, 40 minutes away from my house. So like I kind of get that vibe too, where I can like come home for dinner one night if I don't want to cook or whatever.
Yeah. Have your mom do your laundry and shit. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Whenever I'm home, mom does the laundry. That's for sure. So, so you majored in film production, something like that, right? Film studies.
Yeah. Film studies, film production. Correct.
Cool. So what exactly does that entail? Like, were you just learning like all like the Adobe programs and like how to like create more, or was it like more of like a film studies type thing?
It was half and half. It was like half cinematography and then half like film studies and stuff. What was a total fucking bummer though is that when I went to school, I mean, I graduated fucking 10 years ago. It was like during the switch of film to digital, like motion pictures that like just started becoming all digital, which was like brand new right when I graduated. And we learned all of our cinematography classes on film cameras, which no one uses today. So it was it was kind of shitty timing where it's like, I get dumped into the real world and it's like, all right, we're not using film cameras anymore. We're using digital cameras. And I'm like, all right, I'll teach myself, I guess. It goes to show you though, you don't necessarily need a bachelor's degree in film production to do it. You just have to have experience,
Yeah, it's all about teaching yourself and like actually going out and doing it. I was having a conversation with my dad too. Like I'm an accounting major, but I was doing some work for his business and I'm like, I'm learning so much more like just doing it than just actually sitting in the classroom and like learning the textbook definitions, things like that.
Yeah.
So I get that for sure. So what was your plan like out of college? Like did you want to get into like production, things like that?
Yeah, actually, I was simultaneously doing music while I was studying film. So by the time I graduated college, and when I say I do music, I was like producing and engineering for people.
Yeah.
And again, this was like a time when it was pretty uncommon to have like your own studio gear, like in your in your dorm room or in your house or whatever. It was like just starting to become affordable. So like I was kind of an early adopter of that, and that kind of got my foot in the door with a lot of artists. So by the time I graduated college, I had a couple musicians I worked with under my belt, and I sort of had a name for myself, not really, but it was enough for me to move to New York with not much of a plan, just kind of no job, just move there, fucking take the leap and figure it out. And it was tough in the beginning, man. I kind of rolled out of bed every day, and I had this little bedroom that was like 10 feet by 10 feet, and my bed took up half of it, my desk took up the other half, and I would just those are the fucking early grinding years, man. Fucking begging my parents for money when I couldn't make rent, like that was those were the I guess to answer your question though, there was pretty much no plan. It was just like, I'm gonna work for myself and I'm just gonna like figure it out.
Well, yeah, I like hearing things from like stories like that from people like you, because that just shows that like you have to go through like that period of like eating shit or struggling or doing whatever, you know what I mean, to get into a position where you want to be, where you can, like you said, work for yourself or create opportunities for yourself like that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's cool though. So talking about like still getting your start, the first major thing that you did that I came across when just, doing my homework on you was the Touring's Boring, like video
Hmm.
series.
Yep.
So can you talk just a little bit about that? How you got into that opportunity and everything like that?
Sure. I mean, I started working with Mike just, I mean, it was 9 years ago. I just honestly, I sent up an email, and he had like one or two songs out. I came across his song in like a music blog, and I just shot him like a little message. I sent him some beats, and one thing led to another. We were like working on a song together. Then we worked on a video, and then it just kind of kept. As he was growing, I was kind of along for the ride, and then eventually became kind of like more of a key component. But Touring's Boring was like, man, something that just happened super organically. For those who don't know, it's like a web series about our tour life for the most
Mhm.
part, and it started in the very beginning when we were. I mean, we're still independent now, but when we were like 23 years old and independent, touring on our own, there was like five of us. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing, and
Yeah.
I think we were in the beginning. We were kind of just like capturing and kind of like mockerizing how like inexperienced and bad we were at like touring, and and it captured kind of like the craziness of performing in like these shitty little bars in front of 200 people, and like all the
Mhm.
drinking, the girls, like but mainly it was really just like we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, and we kind of wanted to mockerize it a little bit. So
Yeah.
uh so yeah, I mean, it's, to be honest, like looking back, it was probably in the music industry anyways, it's probably one of the bigger web series like within like the music world. So um you know we did it for like 7 or 8 years, and it really fueled our touring a lot. And over the years, it kind of like made people be like, "Oh shit, like I need to go to one of those shows."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool though. So dude, I was doing the research on you and I
Hmm.
didn't realize me and my one buddy that I've been friends with like forever, we used to watch This Is Mike Stud like every week or whatever. Like
Oh, a
we
TV
would
show?
yeah, we would like DVR it and like we would always watch it. And I was doing the research and I called him. I was like, dude, did we watch a show about Mike Stud? And he was like, yeah, like This Is Mike Stud. I was like, dude, I'm about to talk to the dude that created it. And he was like, no way, dude. Like we used to watch that
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah, that was super cool. I remember all the shots like on the tour bus and like just like you said, showing all aspects of like
How did you come across that TV show? Were you a fan of Mike, or how did that happen?
I knew who Mike was, and then
Hmm.
I think my buddy, we were like scrolling through like Verizon Fios. I don't know if you remember they had like the like
Yep. Hmm.
catalog, and I think you guys were on there. And
Hmm.
like he had told me we were at school one day. He goes, "You got to come over. You got to watch the show. I found it. Like it just shows these guys like partying, drinking, like super hot girls. Like we got to watch it." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
awesome! Like let's definitely do that." And
Yeah.
it's just funny how it came full circle.
What do you think of the show?
Oh, it was so I literally looked forward to watching it every time.
Yeah, man. I mean, if it was up to me, that was like the most fun I think I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's I wish we could keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like it was just like, obviously there was like a lot of work that was put into it, but you guys were just having like the time of your life from what
Hmm.
and you were just documenting it, you know what I mean? You already do that film production stuff, so that was kind of like
Hmm.
your thing anyway.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's so
Yep.
cool though. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I like that's crazy. We used to watch that. I totally forgot about it."
Yeah, that was when we were touring in like 2016, I believe. So it was like about
Yeah.
4 years ago, and it's interesting, man. Like touring was already like interesting enough, but then we had like this whole camera crew following us, like
Yeah.
documenting everything we do, which isn't always the best. When you want your privacy, but it ended up being a pretty entertaining show.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I was just talking to Dylan Reese and Ryan Podierski. I don't know if you ever heard of Dylan Reese. He's
Yep, I've heard of him. Yep.
yeah, but Dylan Reese is the artist and Ryan is his tour manager. So I was just talking to him about like all the stories from tour and stuff.
Hmm.
Sounds like a pretty interesting time. I'll just
Yeah,
say that.
I'm trying to get back on the road, man. It stinks. We were supposed to tour this year. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're not able to do that. So, it's probably going to be quite some time. Probably sometime next year before we can tour again.
Well, it's tough too because I was just saying like it's literally exactly what everyone's trying to avoid is like large crowds of people. Like if anybody's avoiding one thing, it's large crowds of people. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what a concert is.
I know. I had fucking Motley Crue tickets, bro. I can't go now.
Jesus.
Oh, dude, check it
Yeah.
out.
Hey, there you go.
I was like, fuck. I was supposed to go in like a couple of weeks, and it was supposed
Oh,
to be
really?
at the new Ram Stadium out here in LA, and like they had to
Oh,
cancel the whole. Well, they didn't cancel it. They pushed it back a whole year. But I'm like, fuck. I got to wait another year now.
yeah, I know. And then it's gonna be like August of 2021 and be like, holy shit, I have Motley Crue tickets.
I know.
It'll
I'm
be a
gonna
nice little
forget.
surprise. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Um, so the show got picked up by Esquire, right?
Esquire Network. Yep, like the
Yeah.
magazine. Hmm.
So how did that happen? I want to know, like, did they contact you or like did they see the video series?
We and this was kind of like a few years in the making, but we
Yeah.
partnered with a production company who kind of believed in our vision. Um, our goal was to like make Torrance Boring, kind of a television series, but at the same time, like we didn't want to be like cheesy like reality TV guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, at least Mike didn't. I didn't give a fuck. But Mike
yeah.
wanted to put his music career for. He wanted to be taken seriously as a music career, and like,
Right.
if we went up on MTV and looked like a bunch of fucking idiots, we would have been like the next Jersey Shore, which like would have been cool, but it probably would have fucked his image as a musician a little bit. So,
Oh, for sure. Sure.
we had opportunities to get it on bigger networks for sure. Like at the time, like Mac Miller had a show on MTV2, and like it wasn't really similar to our show, but like in the sense that it was like a musician or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, like we had opportunities to get in bigger networks, but the issue is that you don't get creative control at all the bigger the network is. So, when we heard Esquire Network, and yes, it's a small network, it's a sister channel of NBC. Uh, yes, it's small, but we were like they said like 100% like yes, you have creative control. Like nothing will go out without you give them the green light, which is unheard of in the TV
Yeah.
industry. So, we kind of had that rare opportunity. And I think that's why the show came out as good as it did, because we were kind of, involved every step of the way. Every episode had like 9 or 10 rounds of edits that we got to check out and give notes. And like, that's just unheard of. The stars of
Yeah.
the TV show never get to give notes in the show. So we,
Mhm.
we were lucky enough to have that type of relationship with the production company and the network. So that's kind of how it worked with them. And I'm sure if it was on a bigger network, we'd probably be in a different situation today. And I don't know if it'd be for the better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was gonna ask you like how much they changed like either like production wise or like obviously like what goes into the show. But like you said,
Mhm.
I think you guys deciding to go with like a little bit smaller of a network,
Mhm.
that I think that really helped you guys because I feel like they would have like I don't know, probably cut some things out or like do you think they would have given you like certain like lines to say or like certain things to say? Were they a scripted part of it?
Yeah. So most TV shows, especially reality TV shows, when you see them doing like the sit down interview confessionals, those are always like written for the people, like
Yeah.
always. Like they're always like
Like
that's
their
why.
answers too.
Yeah. So the way it works is, and like we wanted to avoid this. Like this is like one
Yeah.
of the things we wanted to avoid because it's like it's just super corny and it's not authentic or whatever. But
Right.
when you sit down and do your interviews, um, they give you like a packet with all the questions they're going to ask you, and then they give you like the answers that they prefer you to say.
Oh geez.
So like I for one, like when I sat in the seat, I'm like fuck, I'm like yeah, fuck this. I don't need your answers. Like I'm good.
Yeah,
Like I'm comfortable in front of a camera. Like I'll knock it out of the park. So like
yeah,
I'm not gonna say whatever, because they would write the cheesiest fucking shit. And like any other network, they'd be like, no, you got to read the paper. Like you have to say it the way,
yeah, yeah,
you know. But that was the great thing about our shows. We could take the script and be like, yeah, fuck this, and we just do our own thing.
yeah. Yeah, that's I feel like that's definitely a good freedom to have. Like I feel like in any industry, like music or like, TV shows, like you sign that contract and like you kind of just give them creative control. And sometimes I feel like it ends up being what the actual people don't want it to be. You know what I mean? Or something that they didn't have a vision for.
Hmm.
So did like you said you guys were like fuck your script type thing.
not,
Yeah,
not not in a malicious way. And
yeah, yeah.
like the best part of it is like it made the show better. So like no one's mad, no one's like upset at, like that we didn't follow the scripts and like do anything according to the way things are normally done. So
Yeah.
when you watch it, you can see like there's literally nothing that's scripted. A lot of TV shows will like make fake drama and shit, and like this was just all 100%. Like it all happened, like
Right.
as you see it, that's what happened.
Yeah. Though, I mean, that's I think that's why YouTube's so good. I think
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
it's just like, I don't know, like I feel like some of the YouTubers, like I feel like if you watch like, or like, I don't know, take Joe Rogan for example. I feel like if you consistently watch his podcast, you feel like you know him, but like you obviously he has no idea I exist. But like I feel like I know him because I watch him so much, and
Hmm.
it's like I know it's what he wants me to hear. Like all of his opinions just straight up. You know what I mean?
That's why podcasting is so important,
Yeah.
because you get to share these points of views and opinions over such like a long period of time where people can actually get to know who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we haven't done touring sport in a few years, and like that was such a great way for us to connect with our fans and our audience. And there was kind of a void there before we started doing our podcast, and now that we're doing it, it's like this is such an awesome way to get our message out there and connect with our fans. So
Right.
and that's why like I like coming on as many podcasts as possible, because it's just such like an important platform for people to speak their mind.
For sure. I think,
Mm.
the long form, like I like, like you said, you like coming on the podcast and like, because you can just speak like, you can say whatever you want on this podcast. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you as much time to speak as many as opinions as you want. You know what I mean? It's not like a TV network thing where like you get 2 minutes to like explain like your
Yep.
answer for this, and then we got to move on or whatever. We
Yeah.
can go for 20 minutes. We can go for 4 hours like Joe Rogan does sometimes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
man.
that's important. So did the podcast kind of replace Touring's Boring as far as like your like
Not replace, but it in a way, yes. With the timing, like
yeah,
we kind of stopped doing that. And I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but like we had to take touring scoring off YouTube. We didn't have to. We chose to, just because Mike went through a whole branding change where he went from Mike Stud to Mike, and
yeah,
it's a different social climate now, and it was like kind of a racy thing and a racy show. So it just was easier and probably smarter for us just to take it down.
for sure.
And we're all 30 now, and like we don't want to look back at something we did like 8 years ago that we're gonna get shit for, like everyone is these days. So
Dude, like the cancel culture, whatever the fuck it is, like
yeah.
I don't know, like even if it's like I feel like some of these people that like obviously some of these people like they find like things that they've done like that obviously were not right. But like I feel like some people like they can just change their opinion too. Like yeah, they did something bad like when they were like in middle school or high school. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's not an accurate representation of them at all. Like I'm
No.
21 now, and I hope when I'm 30, I'm looking back at what I did when I'm 21 saying, "Wow, that was so stupid." You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
I do.
I
That's
hope
exactly
I
what I do.
learn. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I hope I learn and grow and
Yeah.
mature out of my 21 senior in college self. You know what I mean? I hope my opinions change and develop
I
like
know. I mean, dude, the truth is, like, a lot of celebrities are getting shit because, unfortunately, a lot of them are just shitty people, and like,
well, there
oh,
is that too. I'm
and
not
like this stuff is coming out because for whatever reason, whether it was that point in their career or just them in general, they were just shitty people. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just finding out that like Ellen DeGeneres is a shitty person, and I'm like, Ellen, like, like
Yeah.
I didn't expect her to. And then everyone's like, yeah, like we heard she was kind of a piece of shit, and I'm like, oh God, like she seemed like the sweetest fucking person on earth, and now
I
like
know.
so
Yeah.
dude, some people just aren't good people. And at the end of the day, like I like to think we were always good people, and we always had respect for whoever we were around.
Right.
As crazy as like the party and everything got,
Yeah.
we were always respectable, and just like nice dudes. So that I don't foresee anything like that happening to us, but you can just never be too careful.
Right. I mean, that's funny that you say that. Like, and obviously, I'm not defending any of those like people who said whatever they're
Mm-hmm.
being blamed for. But my
Yeah.
sister was like, you're doing this podcast and like it's doing like okay, like what if like I don't know, like aren't you worried about people like canceling you or whatever? It's like nah, just be a good person. Like just be a good person. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that. Like don't I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Like I know I'm a good person. I know I don't have you know, any of that
Mm-hmm.
crap going
Yeah.
through my mind. So I'm
Yep.
not worried about
Respect.
that. You know,
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah.
fuck that.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
So moving on a little bit, just kind of like into your film career. I know you did the one independent film called The Primrose. right?
Yep, 2 years ago. Yep.
Yes. So I want you to just talk a little bit about that, because I would assume producing a film independently is super hard.
Hardest thing I ever had to do.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean, like, I hear, like, I took like a theater class in college, and they were talking about filming movies, and they were like, yeah, they do like 30 takes for one scene. I'm like, oh my God, like that's just one scene. How many scenes are in a movie? And like, you got to like put all that together. I couldn't even
Yeah.
imagine. Like, that's why I want to hear about this, because like I'm sure it's so hard.
Yeah. There's like 100 scenes in a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, honestly, like when you don't have a lot of money to make a movie, like it's a luxury to do 30 takes, because that's like,
Yeah.
that's just time and money.
Right.
Whereas like most movies are shot in, a couple months, yeah, at least. And mine, I had to shoot it in 13 days. Um,
Jesus.
and honestly, dude, like it was 2017 when like I was just like, you know what, like I want to make movies. It's never going to be the right time. I can sit and fucking, prepare as much as possible, but if I don't just fucking do it and stop being a pussy, like I'm just never going to do it. So
Fuck yeah.
I wrote a script, even though like, I mean, I went to school for screenwriting too, but like, even though I had never written a screenplay, I'm like, I'm just going to fucking write a screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make a movie about kind of like the uncertain times after graduating college, and like,
Yeah.
and it kind of, and mainly it's a movie about like just a house full of dudes and like the male camaraderie and like the one common goal of like, let's get fucked up and rage and fuck chicks and all.
Fuck yeah.
With some like, nice messages as well. But
For sure.
that's essentially what the movie was about, and the message I wanted to get across. And man, like I spent a few months writing the script, and then in the following spring I did a Kickstarter. I raised like $20,000, which is like a ridiculously low budget for a movie. And I assembled like a whole crew and cast of like people who were willing to work for next to nothing, who just kind of like believed in the project.
Yeah.
And then we shot it 13 days in Boston. And then, I kind of did the majority of the editing and the sound design and all that shit by myself back here in LA
Jesus.
for like another couple months. And then, yeah, we had a movie, and it's shit, man. It's like being so involved in the process, like every step of the way, like was such a good learning experience. And I was talking about, being in college and learning cinematography on these film cameras. It's like, well, I spent a year making a movie, and I learned way more than I did 4 years in college,
Yeah. Yeah.
Granted, I had the luxury of like being able to raise $20,000. So it wasn't really like taking a ton out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
And I had such like a great community surrounding me to like support the project. But fuck, man, like if you need to do something and like your goals are fucking big, you just gotta, you just have to know it's gonna suck, and it's
Yeah.
not gonna be great the first time around, but you have to just jump. You just have to do it.
Oh yeah. I totally agree with that. Like, even like I can speak on that a little bit with like, obviously this is like totally lower scale, but like starting this podcast, like my,
Yeah.
I mean, I just like me and my buddy Jordan, who is always on the podcast. We were like, dude, fuck it. Like we started with the vlog, and we were like, dude, fuck it. We just got to do it. Like we always talk about like, man, we're like, because we're roommates in college. We have 3 other roommates. But like we do funny ass shit. Like it would be super entertaining for us to just film it, put it on YouTube. And we started with the vlogs. The first were good, and then we got sent home for COVID, so we did the podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
like we just kept growing. Like this is gonna be episode 15, I think. And
Nice.
obviously our first one was like god awful. Like I watched it a couple days ago. I'm like, I felt like taking it down. I was like, this is just bad. Like we didn't like we were just like, let's just have a conversation, and we didn't like write anything up
Yeah.
for it or like plan it. And we were like, so like
Yeah.
what's good on Netflix? Like just stupid shit like that. So
That's okay though. Fuck it.
yeah. But I feel like you said, growing, and it's not gonna be easy the first time around. And I feel like I'm still in the first time around, first 15 episodes shit. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more to come, but you got to
Yeah,
get
man.
past that.
Dude, we didn't know. I mean, we're 57 episodes deep in ours, and like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Like we were
Yeah.
shooting the first few episodes on an iPhone. Like I don't know what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
And I kind of like just got into the swing of things of like being able to produce these shows, correctly and everything. So it's it does take time. Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, but so did I see that you're in the process of doing another movie, another film, something like that?
Yep, I'm a sucker for pain. I'm about to put the primrose up on Amazon, and
Oh, awesome.
about a year ago, I just kind of like tweeted it out and put it on Instagram. I'm like, if you want to see the movie, just shoot me a DM and I'll send it to you. I'll send you a private link. And
Yeah.
I end up sending it to like a couple thousand people, like
Oh my God.
one at a time. I would just sit in my room and just like I was so like overjoyed that so many people were interested in watching it.
Yeah.
So I did, that was kind of like my first wave of like responses of people watching it, and like it actually, like, you know, it, especially for younger people, like the message actually like got through to them, which
Hmm.
you know, everything you could ever hope for. And it was a great experience just kind of sharing it, you know, after all the hard work and everything. So we're going to toss it up on Amazon. We did some film festivals last year, like probably 6 or 7 of them around the country.
Oh, nice.
Nothing major, but, you know, like just something to, you know, get in the film community and just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
say, hey, I'm a filmmaker. This is my film. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, now I've had my new idea for a while. And I wanted to do fundraising like a little differently this time around. I don't know if you've like seen much on my social media. I haven't really talked a ton about it yet, but essentially, I didn't want to do a Kickstarter again because I just hate asking people for money. Like it sucks the fucking soul out of me, and I
Hmm.
just hate doing
Yeah.
it. So I wanted to come up with like a fundraising plan that didn't involve actually people giving me money, which doesn't make sense because it's the whole point of fundraising is to make money. The only thing I came up with was that, you know, me being in the music industry, I know that when you stream a song on like Spotify or Apple, for instance, like when someone streams your song, you get paid like, you know, a very, you know, minimal fee. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you get paid for every single stream that you get, and it's you're technically not giving someone money when you play a stream. So I was like, all right, like that's interesting. So I was like, you know, and then I found out that you get the same amount of money for like a 1 minute song than if you do for like a 3 minute song. Like you don't get paid
What?
differently. Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I'm like, what if I make like a whole album full of like 1 minute songs that people could just like loop, and that's the way of like donating money to my movie.
Yeah.
So like I still couldn't like get the idea like full circle until my buddy Mark, who I'm doing the project with, he's like, dude, what if we make like sleep therapy albums, like the Calm app, and like nature sounds, so people sleep to it, so they listen to it on loop for like 6 to 8 hours while they're sleeping, and you just get all those fucking streams.
Yeah.
And I did the math, and it's like every time someone, you know, streams an album and sleeps to it, they donate like about $1, which isn't a lot. But like if you get like a big community of people doing this for a long period of time, it really adds up. So
Yeah.
we decided to make sleep therapy albums to raise money for a movie, and we launched it a couple weeks ago, and we're already at like 120,000 streams, which like honestly is not that much money yet, but it's, you know, it's a
Dude,
start.
that's still fucking awesome. Like,
Yeah. And you know, for anyone that wants to check it out and help support us, the our sleep therapy band is called the Snoozers. So you can go check out the Snoozers on you know, Spotify and Apple or Amazon, and or you can go to badboysasleep.com. You can find all the info. And yeah, dude, that's how we're raising money right now.
dude, yeah. So, like I said, I was on the phone with Spencer earlier, and he had told me that. I had no idea, and I was like, that is the coolest way I have ever heard of
Mhm.
someone raising money. And I wanted you to bring that up on the podcast first of all, so like
Mhm.
you could shout it out like you just did.
Yeah.
But I think that it's like so creative. Like I was just telling Spencer, I would have never thought of that in a million years. I would have never thought of that.
It's Yeah, it wasn't just me. I mean, like I knew I wanted to do music streaming as a way to donate, but again, my partner Mark was like, dude, sleep therapy, and I'm like, oh, it's fucking genius. Because I mean, you see commercials for like the Calm app like every fucking 2 seconds now on TV. So it's definitely a growing market, and it's definitely something people already do. And at the end of the day, it's just mutually beneficial because it's actually like relaxing to sleep to it. You know, like
Oh, for sure.
we got like beach noises and like thunderstorms and
Yeah,
like a campfire with crickets and shit, and like it's,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
I sleep to it every night, and it's like it's super relaxing, and
That's dope.
it's for a good cause, so it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, dude, that's awesome. I actually know a lot of people who like openly talk about doing that, where they're like, "Oh, like I listen to like things while I sleep." I'm like I don't know, like I feel like there's like that's like a really big market too. And
Hmm.
something, you know, I don't personally do. but I'm definitely going to check that out now that I know it exists, because maybe it'll
Yeah.
help me. Who knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you told me like a year ago I'd be promoting sleep therapy albums to make my next movie, like, I'd think you're fucking crazy, but this is where we are. This is where we're at.
Well, dude, I think that's like genius marketing too, because
Thank you.
like, um, if I know a movie was made on the funding of that, like that's how the funds were. I would watch it just because of that. I don't care if it's like a rom-com, like I
Yeah.
would watch it, you know what I mean? Because that's so cool that you funded your movie on streams, on, you know, building a community.
Mhm.
Obviously you already had like a follower base and everything like that, but
Yep.
you used that community, built it, and now you funded your movie.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping it motivates young filmmakers too, because it's a daunting task to get money together to make a film. Um, and I just want people to like be able to think outside the box, this type of way where, even if they don't have, a huge following, they can still come up with some type of idea where they can raise money, where it's just creative and, innovative, and it gets them to fucking get off their butt and make a movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
dude, that's again, that's awesome. That's awesome. But getting back to like actually making the movie,
Mhm.
is there like one thing that was like super challenging, like that stands out of anything? Was anything a big pain in the ass?
Yeah, all of it. I mean, I made every mistake in the book. I would say my biggest mistake was not writing in a financially efficient script.
Okay, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
when I say financially efficient script, that means like, you know, when you think of like what adds a lot of time and money to a movie, it's like having a lot of characters, having a lot of scenes, having a lot of locations.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
whatever, like shooting a scene while like someone's driving a car, like just little things like that. Like I was just a fucking rookie. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I made like a fucking like huge ensemble cast of like 15, 20 people, and like I had all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
locations, and like I didn't have any time or money. So like that was like the number one like rookie move right there. And then two, back to screenwriting, like I didn't have any experience writing a screenplay and then filming it before, so this was my
Mhm.
first time doing it. And like when you write stuff on a screenplay, like you can read it on the page and you're like, oh, this is brilliant, this is incredible. And then you like sit there and you get to the day of shooting and your actors start acting it out and you're like, this is fucking terrible. like this isn't how people talk. Like
Yeah,
this is just insanely terrible. So you know what that means is like, or what ended up happening is like, I ended up having this script that was good. The story was good and like I had some good scenes, but we ended up cutting out like 30, like maybe 30 pages of the script or something like that, like,
Oh,
which is like
jeez.
insane. So like we wasted a lot of time shooting stuff that got cut out because I just didn't write it properly. And then we wasted, a lot of money as well. And it was just, we made it hard on ourselves by having so many characters and locations and,
Yeah,
certain types of scenes. So that definitely taught me like, how to write dialogue properly, or at least a little better, and then how to write a script where like when you have a shoestring budget, it's like actually possible.
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
dude.
like you
Like I
see
said,
movies like movies that inspire me, like I don't know, you're familiar with Kevin Smith, like the Jay and Silent Bob movies? Have you heard of
yeah,
those?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So Kevin Smith's first movie was called Clerks. And it came out a long time ago in the 90s, I believe. And he shot it like on black and white film, and his budget was like 17 grand. So like pretty similar to my budget.
Yeah.
But what made it so smart is that the whole movie takes place at like a convenience store. The guy's like a clerk at a convenience store.
Oh
And
wow.
essentially the whole fucking movie there, I mean, there's only a handful of characters and the whole movie takes place in one location. Like that's what my first movie should have been. And the fact that it wasn't, like, still made it cool. The fact that like I pulled it off, and like
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
actually finished it. So you have all these interesting characters and all these locations and shit. But man, I did not make it easy on myself at all.
For sure. Yeah. Like going back to like actually writing a script, like you said, like I feel like that's
Mhm.
super hard because like you realize that like, hey, like that's not how like people conversate. You know what I mean? If they're like reading
Yeah,
word for word, like I feel like it's hard to write a script word for word where you're not leaving anything up to like the improvisation of your actors. I mean, obviously
yeah, yeah.
talking from no experience, but that's just something that I was thinking about as you were talking about that.
Especially when you're working with new actors who are just kind of getting started. Like you don't want to rely on improvisation with them because they're not like, they don't have the acting chops yet. Whereas if you have like Vince Vaughn in your movie, it's like fuck the script, just say whatever the fuck you want, and like it'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool though. I always like when I find out, like if I watch a TV show or like a movie, I'm like, oh, like Will Smith, like none of his lines are written. I'm like, that's crazy. Like I don't know how you like make an entertaining scene just off the fly, or like when people freestyle like rapping, like I can't even comprehend how someone would do that. You know what I mean? Like make words rhyme and sound good and like sound dope, like just off the top of your head. It's not one of my skills.
Yeah. Well, just to put it in perspective, like a movie will usually shoot about 4 pages of a script in a day. That's like average 4 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And there were days on our film when we were doing like 15 pages in a day. So like we were doing almost, like over triple what like a normal movie would do. So when you only like have 4 pages to worry about every day, you have the luxury of kind of freestyling it sometimes because like you said, you could do 30 takes, and it's like if you're just making shit up and some of it happens to stick, like that's great. And that's what makes like major movies so good, is that like they had 30 fucking whacks at this, whereas like on my movie it's like, well, you got like 2 or 3 tries and then we got to move on, so. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you too, like, did you like guys like shoot, like you said 13 days, and I feel like, I mean, how long was the movie? I don't know if you remember.
It ended up being 1 hour and 17 minutes.
So like 13 days, like I feel like, were you guys working like around the clock? Was that around the clock for 13 days type thing?
It's very unconventional to work 13 days straight and to work on weekends. Most of the movies, they'll take weekends off, but I just didn't have that luxury because like I was renting all this equipment, and I was like paying people day rates, and we had these I just didn't have the luxury. So we worked 13 days straight, and everyone fucking worked their ass off, and some days were like 15 or 16 hours, which again is pretty common because like even on bigger films, like they spend so much time setting shit up and whatever. We actually out here in LA, like maybe 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, we got a flyer on our door saying like, we like your house, we want to use it for one of our TV shows, and it was from Warner Brothers, and we were like, what the fuck? So I hit up the location scout or the location coordinator, and I was like, hey, yeah, we're definitely interested. What's it for? And it was for the remake of Veronica Mars, which was on Hulu with Kristen Bell.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was with Kristen Bell. So I'm like, oh fuck yeah, like we're super down. And they were like, it's gonna be like 1 day of shooting, and we can give you like 10 grand. I'm like, 10 grand for 1 day of shooting?
Hey, that's crazy.
And like, dude, it wasn't just 1 day of shooting, because like, they came by like a few days ahead, and like they had meetings at the house, and like they would move all our furniture out of the house and move in their own furniture, and they redecorate the entire fucking house. And on the shooting day, they would spend like 15 hours there, and ended up being for like 2 minutes of an episode, which is like
crazy. That's
I know,
crazy.
man. So like, it's crazy to see it. When I got to see something done on that scale, they probably spent like 70 or 80 grand or something, like on just that one scene at our house that was like 2 minutes of an episode, and it was like already a bigger budget than my entire movie.
Crazy.
It's just, dude, that's why independent filmmaking is awesome, man. Like you gotta have the skin for it, but it's like you're just in the fucking trenches the whole fucking time, man.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You said in the trenches. Mike tweeted something today, and I know I retweeted it, but it just like stood out to me. I was like, man, that is dope. He said, if you in the trenches turn up and keep going, the best times of your life are on the other side of the hard ones. It's just how it goes. And that reminded me, like you said though, like independent filmmaking, like like that's the time, like you're in it, like you're doing what you want to do. This is what you want to do. This is what you signed up for, type thing. So.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy though, because like I had a very good friend who just finished his first movie, and I was kind of asking him for like on advice and stuff. I'm like, man, like any advice you can give me like going into my movie, like it'd be greatly appreciated. And all I did was he patted me on the shoulder. He's like, John, just don't let him see you cry. If you need a moment, just walk away. But you're the leader. Geez. Don't let him see you cry. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, this is gonna be tough. And dude, there were times when like I wanted to literally cry right, because it's like, like, oh shit, it's raining out, and like we only have 30 minutes to get the scene, or like we can't do it, and like, just little things that like, curveballs and shit. We didn't our main location. We didn't lock that down until the night before shooting started.
Oh my God.
So it's like you can imagine, like, all this months of preparation or raising this money, and the main location we didn't even get till the day before. So
Jesus.
it's wild, dude. It was a wild
Yeah.
ride. It was crazy.
Would that have shut the whole thing down if you didn't get the main location?
No, we would have had to like really compromise, and it wouldn't have been the same type of movie. So
Yeah.
we got lucky in that sense. We had a lot of lucky breaks for sure.
For sure. But that you need a little luck. I think everything comes
Yes.
around. So you're working that
Yeah,
hard.
man. Mm-hmm.
I think
Yep.
that speaks a lot to you, though, that independent filmmaking, like obviously I'm, just the past 20 minutes we've been talking about it or whatever, but that seems like a very rough road, and you did it and you're doing it again. So
Yeah, and dude, the craziest part is like I went into it knowing I'm not gonna make like $1 million doing this. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I was like breaking my balls for like a year and a half, knowing I'm like maybe someone will buy this movie and like will want it, but like that's not why I'm doing it. I know I'm gonna like it's gonna be a learning experience, and I'm gonna bust my fucking balls to like get through the other end of it with experience, yes, but with like less money than when I started. So
Yeah.
that like you really start to get doubt and like question what the fuck you're doing, and it's like it's hard, but it's kind of just a means to something else, and that's kind of how I viewed it. So
Well, but you're doing it for yourself too, I feel like. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I feel like that helps, like, even, okay, so like, say it ended up being like a pretty good success. You said like you sent it to like 1,000 people, like the links and everything, like everyone wanted to see it.
Yeah.
But even if that didn't happen, I feel like with the mindset that you just said you had, like it would have been okay, because like you're doing it for yourself. Like you said,
Hmm.
you're not gonna make millions of dollars. And you're knowing that, and you had that mindset. So if it didn't turn out as well as it did, you'd have just been happy because you did it for yourself.
Another thing that made me really happy, and kind of adding to that, is that when we were doing the Veronica Mars shoot at our house, obviously those film crews are like 60 or 70 people, and everyone has a job to do something, and essentially everyone on the crew, like they all when they were young wanted to be filmmakers or whatever, and like do their own thing and make their own projects. And like I'm talking to like 45-year-old producer who's like one of the head producers on a TV show, and he's like, man, at the end of the day, all I want to do is just make my own movies, and like I'm doing this shit. And like even though he's like a big producer, big TV producer, he's like he wants to do something that I started doing from the beginning, which
Yeah.
like I think people kind of lose focus, where yes, you get a good paying job, and you're in the field that you want to be in, but you're kind of compromising in a way. And
Hmm.
I just like never, I could have done the same thing. I could have got on major movie shoots and worked my way up the ladder, this and that, but I feel like that would just be almost like a like the wrong path. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel like that's either like getting out of college and like joining the corporate world, or like starting your own business type thing. Like I feel like it's
Yeah.
definitely kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, dude, like, and especially in the arts, like making movies, one of the hardest things to do in the creative world. And
Yeah.
I think people are just scared by the process, and it's the hardest thing is raising capital, getting money. So like that's why I'm spending so much time and focusing on like what can we do for fundraising that's like new and exciting, because that like
Right.
without money you can't make a movie without money. For
Of course.
it, of course there's like that a random movie that someone spent like $1,000 on and it won every award, but that's if don't bank on that being you, because that's incredibly hard.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel, yeah, that's definitely an oddity.
Hmm.
$1,000 for a whole movie, and it would,
Yeah,
Academy Award winning or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah, but people have done it though, man. I mean, people have done it's funny. I saw an article, especially during COVID, all the productions were shut down. So like there were no
Mhm.
movies coming out for a while. So these guys, they made a movie for zero budget, which means they just kind of made something with what they had, and
Yeah,
they released it, and they grossed like 20 grand, and it ended up being the highest grossing movie that week in the entire world.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
or either in the whole world or in the whole country.
In the
But
country for sure, yeah.
they got like they got like a whole article. I'm like, fuck, why didn't I think of that?
That's good exposure too. If you're the top grossing movie that week, that's
Yeah, and
awesome.
like
That's
you'll never be able to do that again. So I thought that was so funny, man.
well, yeah, like you said, all the productions were shut down. And do you watch like uh, it's Ozark on Netflix? I don't know if you ever
Oh
heard of
yeah,
it.
I haven't seen the most recent season, but I saw the first two seasons.
Most recent season, arguably the best.
Oh man,
But
I keep forgetting to watch it. I'm gonna start tonight, hundred
dude,
percent.
dude, I'm serious. I mean, like, you know how Ozark is though. It's kind of like you got to pay attention. Like, if you pay attention, it's really good. But if you're kind of having it on the background, it's like some of the
I
details we washed out.
I'll tell you right now, I'm not a background TV guy because I know all the work that goes into making it.
Yep.
I get so aggravated when like people are watching stuff and like they're like on their phones and shit. I'm like, no, you just missed that. Like they probably spent like 10 hours on that fucking one shot and you just fucking missed it to text like your fucking idiot the friend about something stupid. So like
That's such an awesome perspective. Like,
when I watch stuff, I'm just like fucking like I'm zoned in. Like I
you're
can't.
laser focused.
Yeah, dude, I don't miss a fucking line because also there's just so many subtleties that like filmmakers put into their movies that it can be like a stroke of genius in like a snap of a finger, and if you like blink or like you just take your eyes off the screen for a second, you're gonna miss it, and it's like, well,
Right.
that's why I watch movies more than once, to be honest with you, because like even when I pay attention, I still miss shit, and like when you
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
it a
yeah.
second time, you can like start to notice more little like pieces of genius that the filmmaker had in there. So
Oh yeah,
definitely, definitely, I recommend that for sure.
for sure. I'm like that with TV shows. Like, I'll watch like, I think I've watched every episode of How I Met Your Mother like 30 times, and like there's so much like foreshadowing in that show, and like there's literally a show. There's an episode. I'm not gonna spoil it because it's kind of like a big thing, but something really big happens in the end, and then every scene there's a number in that scene that counts down from 100 until one, and then like that big thing happens. Like, and
Wow.
a lot of people didn't notice that, and I didn't notice until like the third time I watched that episode. I was like,
Hmm.
yo, that's weird. Like, I've seen a couple numbers, and then I'm like, me and my buddy looked back, and there was a number in every scene counting down from 100 to one, which is crazy.
In one episode.
Yeah.
Man,
Or
that's
maybe
so
it
great.
wasn't every scene, but it was like, when they
Yeah,
changed rooms, there was another number or whatever, things like that.
that's so sick, so cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But getting back to Ozark,
Hmm.
they came out. It took them forever to come out with this season three. It was only 10 episodes, and I'm like, now everything's shut down. I'm gonna have to wait like 3 years for another season because it took them obviously, like you said, there's so much work that goes into it. Now I
Yep.
realize how much work goes into it.
Hmm.
But I was like, it took them so long to come out with these episodes, and like now I'm gonna have to wait probably like at least a year and a half. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, that's a major bummer. I definitely fell in love with a few shows myself where it's like it happened right before quarantine, and like
Yeah.
I'm kind of like I'm like a my guilty pleasures are like those teen drama shows. So like I watched shows
One Tree
like
Hill.
like well no they back in the day obviously, but like the new
Yeah.
ones like All American and like Outer Banks and shit like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah.
like I would watch those like, and I'm like, fuck, like we're not gonna get another season of this until like like
Yeah,
two
yeah, yeah.
years from now. I'm like, how am I supposed to fucking binge watch this? I
Oh
can't, I
my
can't.
God.
You know what I mean? People fucking love the Outer Banks. They fucking love that show.
Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what I fucking watched in like, if not one day, it was like a day and a half. Was that Tiger King? Did you watch that?
Dude, it's insane. I didn't. I watched like an episode or two, but like it's insane. I never finished it because I hear it's fucking nuts.
Dude, it's the most fucking nuts thing. Like,
Oh my god.
you would think, and this is like, it's a whole true story, but the
Hmm.
shit happens that you couldn't even imagine in your wildest dreams. Like,
Yep.
it's all like based on the story, and yeah, it's like about the tigers, but it's like just shit you would never even think people are into or like do it.
Hmm.
It's just the craziest shit ever. But I remember when like everything happened, like that Netflix dropped that or whatever, and there was a meme going around on Twitter, and it was like a picture of Trump like whispering to someone, and they were like, "The country's in crisis. What do we do?" And he's like, "Release the Tiger tapes," because like I feel like for a week, like everyone was talking about Tiger King. That show is just
Yep.
so
I know, man.
fucking crazy.
Speaking of crazy stuff, another thing I started watching again that I forgot about, and a lot of people, especially like today's younger generation, doesn't even know it exists. Is have you ever seen R. Kelly's Trapped in a Closet video series?
No, I haven't.
Okay, this is you have to like you're gonna. Uh, I'm gonna try to explain it the best I can because it's
Okay.
literally it's literally the fucking strangest, funniest thing ever. Because I think he was trying to be serious when he made it, but
Mhm.
essentially it's like a 30 part music video where
Jesus.
it tells a story, and he tells a story like with dialogue but like singing like an R&B song. R. Kelly.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm just trying to picture this.
And dude, it is the wildest fucking funniest story in the
Oh
entire
my
world.
God.
I will never do it justice, but no artist has done anything ever like remotely close to this ever since. But it's literally like it's like the length of a movie, but the whole thing is sang in R&B by R. Kelly, and he's the main character.
My God. Dude, I gotta watch that. I
R.
gotta
Kelly
watch
trapped in a closet. You're gonna
Trapped in a
watch the
Closet.
first one. You're gonna watch the first one, and you're gonna be like, all right, I'll watch the next one, and then it's like, all right, I'll watch one more. Fuck
Yeah.
it,
I gotta write that down because
dude. It's the fucking. Please, everyone, stop what you're doing and watch R. Kelly trapped in a closet.
is that on YouTube? Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, you can YouTube it. You're gonna see like part 1 through part 30, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Oh
And
my
it's like,
God.
dude, it's like the same beat the whole time too. It's insane. It's so funny.
Oh geez, that's so funny. And it's like an hour long, you said? Like,
It's yeah, everything's like the length of a song, so it's like 3 or 4 minutes of
yeah.
video, and there's 30 of them, so it's like yeah, it's the length of a
Jesus
movie.
Christ.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. That's pretty creative though. That's about as
I know,
creative as your revenue stream or
I know.
the funding through the
Yeah,
streams.
I know it's like a tough time for him, and he's like got caught doing a lot of fucked up shit, and I don't
Yeah,
condone it by any means, but
absolutely not.
please, that it does not negate all of the fucking genius work he did back in the day.
Oh geez, yeah. Um yeah, I remember when all that stuff came out, like we would always listen to like Ignition at school and we are like,
love
yeah,
love
like
that song, yeah.
yeah, but like let's like put that one on the back burner for a while. Like you said, not condoning or trying to bring him back into the limelight, but
I love when people started giving me shit for listening to R. Kelly.
yeah,
Michael Jackson too. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna listen to Michael Jackson whether he touched those kids or not. Like that, he's one of the most brilliant entertainers of our lives.
yeah,
So fuck it.
sure. Yeah, there's you can appreciate obviously horrible things. Those, you can appreciate what they did though. Like, and you can, I feel like it's not a crime to enjoy their music, but
A lot of artists were very troubled.
yes,
I think
very.
Picasso did some shit. I don't remember what, but I think he did some shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, feel like within the trouble comes the stroke of genius,
Mhm.
sometimes at least.
Exactly.
Um, so kind of moving on a little bit, I saw your LinkedIn was very helpful in me gathering information about you. I don't know if you've gone on your LinkedIn page in a while or not.
I forgot I had a LinkedIn. I think I probably updated it a couple years ago.
Yeah, dude, you like listed out everything about you. Like, and it made it real easy. Like,
Yeah.
is that I didn't miss anything. So,
Mhm.
um, you own a production company, Jon Kilmer Studios. You had on there.
I did. Yeah. Yeah, that was when I first graduated from college. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to start my own company, and I just landed on Jon Kilmer Studios.
Yeah.
And I think where I saw so much success was that I was kind of a one-stop shop for musicians because I had the ability to engineer, produce music, shoot videos, uh, you know, do photography, you name it. Anything that kind of went into like the technical side of making something for a musician, I could do it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where like the studios comes from. It's because I offered so many different things, and when you're starting out as a musician, you don't really have a different person for each of those things. So if you can meet one guy that can do it all, that's like a slam dunk. So
Yeah.
that was my company for a while. I don't really go by that company anymore
Yeah.
because I'm just, I guess, like I kind of grew into like just doing, some different things now, and I'm podcasting, and I'm still producing music, but I'm doing less music videos and more like podcast videos and movies, and I kind of moved on a little bit from it, but yeah, I'm still Jon Kilmer Studios at heart, JKS all the way.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also found you said you were like the in-house producer for Mike Stud. Can you talk a little bit about that, like kind of your responsibilities there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I was just mentioning, like, when I think what kind of drew me to him, or drew that, what kind of like him became interested in me, it was speak English, John. What kind of got, like, what got him, like, wanting to work with me was that I could do so many things. And in the beginning, I was kind of doing I wore a lot of hats. I was engineering the music. I, produced some stuff. I shot all the music videos. We did, like,
Sure.
the touring sporting videos on
Mm-hmm.
tour. I was doing a ton. I was doing a ton of shit. And now it's kind of, from like a business sense, we kind of like dip our beaks into like so many different things now outside of music. Like the podcast is just one example, but we have like this whole merchandising stuff we do. We have like the Chug Bud beer things that we sell.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking endless. Like we just have like endless things that we are always working on. So I think it's like nice to be around, ambitious people and like-minded
Sure.
people. And when we do some things that are like kind of wacky and weird, like we did the Belina Cup beer pong tournament, the celebrity beer pong tournament a couple months ago. Like, like it's nice to have someone like me around where it's like, I can kind of pick up a lot of the workload, even though that's like, it's never my job description to like host a beer pong tournament. But like I'm the type of guy that can, help organize the type of thing and make content and, actually bring it to life. Like,
for sure.
like I used to kind of just be like the music video or the video guy. Now it's like I'm just kind of like this creator who can kind of just get shit done, whatever we're doing,
Right. Yeah. I feel like you definitely have a wide variety of things you do, from videography to producing audio, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get back to what you said. You were like, you guys have so many things that you're always working on, and I feel like that comes backed by like your like the strong brand that you guys have built around yourselves. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like you guys have done a very good job doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's, and that comes along with, doing it for 9 years. Yeah. We've been,
Yeah.
we've been
Yeah.
all on the grind for a long time.
For sure. Yeah, I totally get that. Like, I don't know, I was listening to someone's podcast who, like, obviously a very popular podcast, and they were like, oh, people ask me all the time, like, how do you make money doing podcasts? It's like, do it for 10 years. Like, that's how you make money. There's no,
Yep.
like, oh, record with this mic, or like edit with this software, or like, do it for a long time, and it's gonna, it'll work out eventually. You just gotta do it for a long time.
Yeah, that's the advice I give to everyone who asks me about podcasting. That's number one is persistence. Just keep doing it, week after week. And we're a year in, and like, to be honest, like, we're not millionaires making a podcast. We're not millionaires. Like, we're not making a ton of money, but we believe in the product, and we know if we keep doing it, it's going to turn into something pretty huge. But it's, dude,
Right.
you got to be patient, and you just got to keep improving every week, and making your show better and better, and making your show unique enough where people come to you for a certain specific reason. And
Right.
that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I feel like you said, like, you got to make it unique enough, and I feel like part of you making it unique is just like talking about like what you want to talk about, because like nobody is as unique as you are. You know what I mean? Like, everyone is so different. Nobody's the same as I am. Nobody's the same as you are. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if you can put out all the thoughts that you have, and people will come back to listen to you because they will eventually care about what you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Things like that.
nicely put. Yeah, I heard
Thank
an interesting stat that Spotify released, saying that there's 1.5 million podcasts on the Spotify platform alone.
That is so
So
crazy. That is so
1.5
crazy.
million. So like,
I thought you were gonna say podcast
if
listeners.
you, no, podcasts.
No, I know.
So if if you want to make a podcast, make sure that you don't have to know right away. It could take you a couple of years to figure it out, but like, just keep in the back of your mind that you're in the pool with a million and a half other people. Like, make sure what you're doing is authentic to you, like you just said, and give people a reason to come back to listen to you.
Exactly. So I know we've touched on your podcast. So like, I want to like know like when you decided to start it, and like what kind of made you guys be like, oh, we should start a podcast? Were you just kind of like, oh, like that's the new wave, or like what influenced you guys to start a podcast?
A little bit of all of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mike is like a huge Rogan guy. Loves watching
Yeah.
Rogan. Always on at the house. And
Yeah.
like you said, podcasting became like super popular over the past few years, especially this past year.
Yeah.
Especially now during quarantine.
Right.
And I had done a podcast when I lived back in New York City with my friend Mark, who I do my movies with, and we did it like in 2014 and 2015, which was like super early on. I mean, podcasts had been around for a while, but it was very uncommon back then to do a podcast. So I had a little experience, and like we were always talking about starting one, and with I don't know. It was definitely Mike who pulled the trigger on it. He's like, we're going to do a podcast, get the equipment, and we're just going to do it. So we kind of just decided in the day, and we just started doing it. And we're lucky because, Mike's a popular guy, and, he has a lot of cool friends, and we got a lot of cool guests on the show before the whole COVID thing happened. And we were lucky in that sense to, be able to interview so many cool people. So that was another part of it too, just being able to like get cool guests and network with them, and it's been like a very cool device for us to get our message out there.
Yeah, for sure. Like I want to touch on too. You said networking, like that's so important. Like the whole like building relationships with people, networking with people, and like I heard someone say like it's not about who you know, but it's about who knows you. So I think I maybe said that on a podcast before, but it's like it's so important to just like get your name out there. So like if I were to reach out to someone, next week, I'd say, hey, when I come on the podcast, and oh, like I've seen you guys on Twitter before, because like I try to like up our social media to like as much as I can, posting and everything like that, like videos, recycling content. Like we recorded 2 previous podcasts this week, and like this weekend, like I'm just gonna be blasting out all the clips from that podcast on social media and everything. So like using that to recycle and just getting everything out there. So that'll raise awareness, and like I think you get what I'm trying to say. I kind of lost my train of thought, but
no. Our social media guy's actually from Buffalo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He it's funny, you guys talk exactly the same.
Oh, really?
I didn't know there was like a Buffalo accent, but if I close my eyes, you guys sound exactly the fucking same.
Oh, that's so funny. What is it that makes me sound? Is it anything in particular? Or?
No, it's such like a subtle. I mean, I think it's because Buffalo's like up there. It's upstate New York, and like you're kind of on like the fringes of Canada. Like it's like it's not quite a Canadian accent, but it's like the slightest little twang of it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I guess I never. Honestly, dude, you're the first person that's told me I had an accent.
It's hardly an accent. You have to like. I've been so many places in the country, and I met so many different people. Like I can actually tell the little subtleties. And all of the states that border Canada or like are close to Canada, they all have like the tiniest little unique twang of like almost Canadian. Like people in North Dakota are the same way. People in Minnesota are the same way. It's funny to hear it.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. I'm a big fan of accents. I was just telling someone today, like I feel like that's so cool. Like literally, people talk differently, like same language, but like totally different. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm from Boston. It's like the most ridiculous accents on the planet. I think. Besides like Louisiana, maybe I think Boston's the most ridiculous accent in America. I lost my accent because I left. I haven't lived there since I was 18, but my mother, speaking to someone who's like, an Italian Bostonian who like never left the same town outside of Boston, like her accent is so fucking thick. And like, I almost forget about it until I talk to her on the phone. I'm like, holy shit. Like she's got a crazy accent.
Yeah, dude. I play on the baseball team at the college that so does Jordan, the other, my buddy I do the podcast with. And we brought in a kid from like the deep south of Georgia. And it's like, dude, like, I don't even understand some of the words. Like, I love the kid to death. He is very, very nice. But it's like, dude, some of the words you say, like, I've never heard, just not in my vocabulary. But like you said, it's so cool just to see people, even in our own country, speak the same language, but then again, not really.
I know. It's wild.
So I did see in your Twitter bio, I don't know, like, if it was like, were you in the Blue Man Group? I'm just gonna ask you. Like,
is the two-parter. It started with just me being sick of like when people ask me like, "What do you do?" I just got sick of like explaining it because like there's no like one-word answer of what I do. I'm a content creator. I like shoot videos. I produce music. I do podcast.
Yeah.
It's such a long-winded answer. Eventually, I was just like, I'm in the Blue Man Group, which I never was. I was like, it was just an easier answer. And then
Yeah.
that kind of evolved into me lying to women about being in the Blue Man Group.
Oh my
Back in my
God.
single days and like
Yeah.
my Tinder and Bumble bios, I would just write ex member of the Blue Man Group, and then it actually worked in my favor. Where like they were just so like astonished and like intrigued that I was in the Blue Man Group that like it almost got my foot in the door where they were just excited to talk to me about it.
Oh my God.
So I
So
was
would
like,
you run
I'm
with
like, there
it?
might be. Oh yeah, so I'll continue. I was
Yeah.
I was like, I guess this Blue Man thing's kind of working into my favor because like I'd go on.
Um,
Okay, so yeah, these girls would ask me, they're like, "Are you really in the Blue Man Group?" And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And they would continue to ask me like 10, 20 questions about it for like the next half hour. And dude, like I got so used to it that I had an answer for everything. And
oh my God.
I just I talked to like I was literally living a lie. And
Dude, that
it
is
just
so
got to.
funny.
I know, and I mean I'm not single anymore, so like I can kind of just come out and give my secrets. But dude, it works. For anyone out there that's listening, put it in your Tinder and in dating apps.
There you
Ex
go.
member of the Blue Man Group. It'll work every time.
Dude, that's so fucking funny. What would they ask you? Like,
Oh,
what, like,
dude, everything. They'd be like, how do you even get that job? And I'm like, oh, it's actually kind of crazy. Like, I saw an ad. I was into like I was into theater and I was into music and like when I was in New York City, I didn't really know like what I wanted to do, and I was kind of struggling for work, so I did an audition, and I wasn't really too familiar with the Blue Man Group, but they had me do like these weird things and like pantomiming because they don't talk, and like they had me like play drums on some shit, and
oh
like
my God.
and I heard back a week later like, do you want the gig? You're only going to get and like a lot of people don't know this, but there's like 25 or 30 Blue Men per show, and they kind of rotate out, and there's like a whole
What?
seniority. There's like a seniority thing, and like
Dude,
the people who've been Blue Men the longest get more dates, and it's off Broadway, so
what?
you're only getting paid like $200 a show.
Oh my
And when
God.
you're just starting out, you'll get like one or two a week, and it's you kind of have to work your way up. So it'd literally be conversations like this.
Oh my God. Dude, that's so funny. And like you're like a good talker too. So like me, I couldn't like just run with something like that and like be like snappy with the answers, dude. That's
I
so
know.
fucking funny.
Maybe I should be an actor. I'm like really good at
Dude,
lying.
dude, be an act. You can be one of those directors that like puts themselves in their movies.
Yeah, I might have to.
You definitely could do that. But yeah, I was telling like people, I was like, yeah, I'm like having this guy on, and like, I think he was in the Blue Man Group. Like you had me fooled 100%. Like, and like, yeah, I just saw it in your bio and I just believed it. I was like, I think he was in the Blue Man Group. And then I was looking up and I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
and
I was like, they probably don't advertise like who was a Blue Man. So like, it probably
no.
that's why I can't find anything on the internet. So that's a
Mhm.
very very sound lie that you you spun yourself into.
Yeah, it's so random. It's like, what sick bastard would make up this lie?
Oh my
This guy
God. That's so
right
dude, that's
here.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so kind of wrapping things up a little bit. What's next? Any big plans for the future?
I'm just I'm pushing out these sleep albums. We just started marketing them a couple of weeks ago. So in the movie front, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to finalize the story and like start the script, and then on the mic side of things, like we're still doing the podcast every week, YNK podcast for whoever wants to check it out. And yeah, he's starting to finally release some music, which he's been working on for a couple of years. So we're geared up, and obviously our schedule kind of got moved around a little bit with COVID. We probably would have been on tour again by now, but
Mhm.
shit happens. So we're just kind of gonna keep putting out new music, and that's kind of what we're doing. That's about it.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. I feel like it's definitely important to, like you said, you're always working on something. Like you said earlier too, like you have so many
Hmm.
things that like so many ideas that you want to do, like you're always working on something. And like I feel like
Hmm.
that's the same thing we have going on here, like no hard feelings. Like I have so many plans for the future that like that's like years and years and years and years and years down the road that like, hey, like that would be cool to get into like eventually, or like things like that. So things that you're always kind of formulating and working on.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah,
think
dude.
that's important.
Just
But
stay. It's important to stay curious. That's the key word.
yes,
That's when
yes,
we had Larry King on our podcast, and I think that was his
really,
yeah, that was his main his like the lesson that he gave everyone was to stay
yeah,
curious, because as long as you're curious, you're going to keep trying new things, and you're going to eventually find like whatever it is you're meant to do, or whatever
yeah,
it is you like to do. So
yeah, yeah.
just keep staying curious.
Hey, that's I like that. I like that. So one final thing. What was it like to talk to Larry King? Like,
Oh my God. I mean, it's people always ask like, who's the best guest you have? And Larry, fucking hands down. Uh, just to give like a background of why we got Larry King on our show, because it's like, how the fuck would we know Larry King?
yeah, yeah,
He has two like young sons who played college baseball, or at least one of them that played college baseball, and they're huge fans of Mike. And I
yeah.
guess those Larry King's kids and Mike kind of like connected at like a club one night, and they
Yeah.
kind of got around to talking that like, oh, you're Larry King's sons. We have a podcast, and we eventually got to the conversation of having him on the show. So yeah, one day he just kind of he showed up with his kids, and like he sat down and did a 45-50 minute interview with us, which someone like he's in his 80s now. He's interviewed well over 50, he had like 50,000 interviews, I believe, in his career.
Jesus
So
Christ.
having someone that who has met that many people and had that many experiences, you want to like really hang on to every word he has to say.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I was just sitting there fucking like taking notes. I'm like, this guy's got it all figured out.
For a fact. For a fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking sweet.
Mhm.
So one other thing too. You were talking about how like you were saying earlier, like Mike's a pretty popular dude, obviously.
Mhm.
So like that helps get people on the show. And actually, one thing before I get sidetracked,
Mhm.
my buddy and his girlfriend are huge fans of Mike, and they were going to his concert,
Mhm.
and they DM'd him on Twitter, and they were like, "Hey, like we're driving from Buffalo to Syracuse. I think he was playing in Syracuse, and they were like, "Hey, like we're stuck in traffic. It's snowing real bad. Can you like hold up the show a half an hour?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got you." And he like delayed the show a half an hour for them.
Dude, I remember that show, and I remember it was like the weather was really bad. This was kind of recently, right? Like
It
a year
was
or
like
two.
this past year, yeah, 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 or something like that.
Yeah. So we were, I mean, dude, that tour was a fucking nightmare, where like it was the coldest it's ever been in like the
Yeah,
United States in a long time. And we were going through some areas in the Midwest where it was, minus 40 and minus 50 wind chill some nights when we're supposed to have concerts. And, luckily we didn't have to cancel a lot of them, or
yeah,
barely any of them. But like, dude, like it's, kids are like waiting outside in line in like minus 50-degree weather, and it's like it's dangerous at that point. And
yeah, for sure.
we get to places like in upstate New York, where it just shit snow, like just so much snow.
So
And
much.
yeah, dude, like we we went into that show in Syracuse, knowing that we might get stuck there, because it was just
Yeah, yeah,
snowing so
yeah.
hard. So but we did it anyways. And like I think your friends weren't the only ones in that boat where they were running late. Everyone was running late. It's because
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
we didn't know if we were going to do the show at all. But it's incredible that even under those harsh conditions, like people were still coming, showing up to our concerts. So I think that's like that's like it attributes to all the hard work we put in, and like we have such awesome fans and everything that are willing to come out and see it no matter what.
Oh, for sure, dude. Like I remember like before they were leaving, everyone was like, "Yo, like you sure you're gonna like drive all the way out? Like it's supposed to be really bad." They're like, "No, dude, we're fucking going. Like
Yeah.
this is like we don't know, like we need to go." Like they're just huge fans of him. So
Hmm.
I definitely wanted to bring that up because I thought that was just a cool story that like he was like, "Yeah, dude, like I got you," and he held up the show like 30 minutes or whatever, and they made it
Hmm.
on time.
Yeah, I remember it. Hmm.
But what I was going to say was obviously Mike's like a popular dude. Did he ever? And I know he did the song with Marcus Stroman. Have you guys ever had Stroman on the podcast?
Yeah, twice actually.
Oh, really? Cool, cool,
He
cool,
was
cool.
our first guest ever. Before we even started doing like weekly shows, we did like one kind of test episode with him, and that was our first episode ever. And then we eventually had him on again. I think I want to say like episode like 20 or 30 or something like that. We
Yeah,
had him
yeah,
on. We had him on like about a year later. So yeah, he's an awesome guy to talk to, just because we've kind of seen each other's careers unfold. Like I remember him coming to Mike's shows like in the early days when like, you know, we were opening for people and, you know, he was still, I think he was probably still in Duke or whatever. And then we kind of got to see his career unfold, you know, and get drafted and, you know, go to Toronto and then, you know, New York. So it's been cool to like kind of see the two careers rise with each other.
Yeah, dude, that's cool. So how did Mike meet him? Was it at Duke or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe Marcus was like 2 years younger. So,
Oh, okay.
I'm sure Mike was one of the guys that convinced, you know, Marcus to actually come to Duke. But
That's
yeah,
fucking dope.
they just, you know, they end up being, you know, very good friends and, you know, they knew each other from like the early days of baseball and
It's
that's, you
fucking
know,
dope, dude.
that's how it started. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. But you know, kind of wrapping things up, I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. And like I hope you enjoyed it. I think it was a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
seriously, dude, thank you. I know you put out that tweet saying like I'll come on your
Mm-hmm.
podcast. So I'm sure you're very busy with that and everything that you're doing with the movie, everything like that. Um, I like to shout that out once again. The streams, what's the name of the stream?
The snoozers.
The Snoozers. Okay. Check out the Snoozers. Support my guy Jon Kilmer because that's such an awesome way to raise money for a project. So seriously,
Thank you, brother.
check
Yeah.
that out. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, man. I'll come on anytime for real.